Deputized.
Okay,
Right.
deputized. So you're in your patrol car across the street in a shopping plaza. Across the street from you is a convenience store. While you're either on patrol, you're doing reports, whatever it may be, this car comes pulling into this convenience store at a high rate of speed. Flies in, stops abruptly at the front of the store. The passenger then gets out, runs out of the car, runs into the store, not in there more than maybe 5-10 seconds, runs right back out, gets back in the car. The car backs up in a high rate of speed, takes off in the opposite direction in a high rate of speed, reckless driving.
Yeah.
You then, as the officer, say something's not right about this picture. You follow that vehicle. Well, once you get that, you blue light that vehicle, you get them pulled over. The passenger again gets out of that car, takes off, and is running around the vehicle, not following any of your verbal commands, not being compliant, and you end up having to use force on this subject to detain him. Now, this, what do you think just happened?
Just by looking at it and putting myself in the officer's shoes, I would say that that person just robbed the store and is trying to flee.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Okay.
What had happened, this is actually case precedence. This is Graham versus Connor. Mr. Graham was in the car. Officer Connor was on patrol. Just the scenario I gave you happened. However, Mr. Graham, which is severely diabetic, sugar just bottomed out. His girlfriend was driving. They pulled into the convenience store. Mr. Graham got out to go into the store to buy something, to try to purchase something to elevate his blood sugar back up.
Okay.
But once he went into the store, he seen the line was too long. He was still in a panic-stricken state. Mindsets start changing. You start losing your mental prowess when you start going into a diabetic shock. So he runs back out the store, gets in the car. He has a friend that lives a couple blocks away, and they're trying to make it to the house before he completely bottoms out.
Got you.
Officer Connor sees this, thinks, man, he just robbed the store.
Yeah.
So he goes and follows and blue lights him. Mr. Graham gets out, running around the car, not being compliant, ended up using force. Anyway, ended up going through court, the appellate court, even up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ended up, Mr. Graham's claims was that Officer Connor abused his power, abused use of force. However, the appellate court upheld all the lower court's rulings, stating that an officer with the same training and the same information would have used reasonable objectiveness to make that same decision, would have had a similar outcome. How could you have known as an officer that he was diabetic? You didn't know.
You didn't know at all.
He didn't tell you.
Yeah.
Girlfriend didn't tell you. This information was not known to the officer beforehand, so he had to use his his training and discretion and how to handle the situation. Okay, so with that being said, the courts had to go back and use the totality of circumstances, everything that is known to an officer, to make a judgment. So everything that was in the environment, everything that the officer had available to him to make an informed decision, the courts ruled on it utilizing totality of circumstances.
Okay. So everybody who's watching right now wants to ask you this question.
Go ahead.
The guy who got killed, was he black or white?
He was, Mr. Aubrey, he's black.
No, not Aubrey, but the Graham versus.
He didn't get killed.
He didn't get killed.
He didn't get killed. They said he abused power. Or his claim was that he used excessive force. He used unnecessary force to detain him.
Okay, and what was the unnecessary force?
That he was being detained, put in hand restraints. He had to be physically held down because he was not being compliant. So there's probably some defensive tactic move utilized to take him to the ground, put him in a 3-point pin, apply hand restraints.
Okay, and the thing is, was the officer Caucasian or was he African American? The officer.
He was Caucasian.
Okay, and then the guy who was running around the car,
I'm not sure.
Diabetic shock.
I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you that.
I don't mean to say this like this, and this might sound wrong.
I know where you're going with it already.
But I'm just saying, if he was dealing with diabetes, my people have a high, deal with diabetes.
Absolutely.
And so just for the sake of the cause, we can't even say you know, if he was African American, because we don't know. But the thing is, and I get it. There's situations, even me as civilian, if I see something happening a certain kind of way, I'm just gonna get my personal view on what that is. And I think this is where we get into jumping into something that's not factual, but when I look at the situation, the father and the son, the thing that we can't answer and the thing that we would love to hear is if this was a white male who went into the house, and I get it, because you feel like in certain communities, you feel like you need to protect what's your environment, what's around you. It's a part of how we self-police ourselves, even if I see somebody who doesn't belong in the area that they shouldn't be. If somebody comes to the church and they're just snooping around, the first thing I'm gonna do is say, hey, what you doing?
Correct.
That's the first thing I'm gonna do. If they're snooping around looking like they're not trying to go and knock on the door and try to get some help, I'm just gonna ask them just like that, what are you doing? And their reaction after that, if they go and they come either charging after me, then I have to know, I have to defend myself. And maybe not charging after me, but run in my direction. Let's just say it like that. I then put myself in the mindset of I have to defend myself. That's natural. If they jump on the fence, over the fence, I'm gonna think that this person was up to no good and they got caught and they tried to run away. But still, for them, if a person decided to take off running down the street, for me to go and reach for my gun and try to chase them down and say, halt, I feel like that's not my place. I feel like what should have happened was, in this case, I feel like they should have called the police and just described who the male was and left it at that. If this is a question that everybody wants to ask you, they might not want to put it on the comment section, but I'm gonna do it for them.
Okay.
If this was a Caucasian male who was going in looking in the house, would they have responded the same way? The question with a million answers, everybody knows it, what you're supposed to say, but answer the question.
Speculatory.
Whatever you want to call
Strictly
it.
speculatory.
Oh yes, we finna get in it now, sir. No. Why is that?
Because I think I'll have to put thoughts in it, okay? Because this is not factual, okay?
Okay.
This is speculatory.
Okay.
It's all opinionated.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I honestly feel that the father and the son, and even including the person filming it, probably felt a little more comfortable with a Caucasian person. Just being real. I'm just looking at everything that leads up to it, because there's speculation that they have ties to the KKK. That's speculation. There's no proven facts. I couldn't find anything supporting that. I did do the research on that. Again, we talked about this last week.